All right, we got 4 games done. Let's go ahead and jump into this because we've got 10 more games to go. There's a lot of work left to be done. I'm making magnets too while all the games are going on early. All right. Ottawa. Today's game between Ottawa and Columbus kind of has this Hollywood script to it. So at one point not too long ago, Anthony Duclair absolutely on the outs with Columbus and with its coach, John Tortorella. Now what happened today is Duclair's way of saying, hey, I'm a pretty good player. Early on, 2 minutes and 16 seconds in, he scores first from Logan Brown and Nikita Zaitsev. A goal Korpisalo would not be happy with. Not a fantastic goal, but it gets Ottawa off to a pretty good start. Atkinson then had a breakaway that looked like it might be a goal. They called it wasn't on the ice. Then they do a review, and the glove was in the net. So they got this one right today. We'll get to the one they didn't. So the review is called for. It's in. It works. Atkinson gets a goal from Murray and Nyquist at 4:53. And right after, he knew that puck was in. So he's going to the referee going, yeah, no. That's in. Let's go ahead and do this. Shortly thereafter, Milano gets hit by Borowiecki. And he was out cold on the ice for a bit. He didn't come back into the game. And, he made his exit. Borowiecki was clearly concerned about him. And it was not a dirty hit. It was one of those ones where Milano's kind of going down. Borowiecki hits him because Borowiecki didn't have time not to hit him. And he genuinely was concerned about the kid down on the ice. So good on Borowiecki. Once again, hero and all that. Columbus then gets a power play. They wouldn't score on that. But Anthony Duclair, once again, is your hero. He scores from Anisimov and Hainsey at 12:05. It makes it 2-1 for the Senators. The Senators then got a third goal. That was ruled as offside. That was the right call as well. And I said Tortorella can't be happy with this today. Like, this was a 3-1 lead for the Ottawa Senators, and luckily it only was 2-1. But this was not a great game. Not a great game for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Second period, Columbus had a 2-on-0 that was denied by Nilsson. It says 2-on-2, but it was a 2-on-0. Connor Brown then goes the other way. He scores at 8 minutes and 17 seconds, and that makes it a 3-1 lead. The Senators got a power play, which quickly turned into a 4-on-4, which is fine because their power play generally hasn't been good, although today Texier would score. Not yet. Dubois took a frustrated penalty shortly thereafter. So Pierre-Luc Dubois again today showing some frustrations on the ice. The Sens then took one with 10 seconds left in their power play. So the power plays went back and forth in that second period. Third period, now we're up to it. The Senators were winning a lot of the puck battles, but Texier scored from Dubois and Robinson at 4:44. And at that point, I'm thinking, they're still down. Is Tortorella potentially on the hot seat in this if the team doesn't show the effort? Like, the results are one thing, but if the work ethic isn't there, if they're being outworked, and to this stage they were being outworked by the Senators, is that a bad sign? The Senators then started getting pushed back as Columbus made their push around the halfway mark. Texier would then score from Dubois and Robinson again at 11:31. Not an instant replay goal, but instant replay when it comes to who got the points on that one. There was a late Columbus power play. We then have to go to overtime. In overtime, Nilsson stopped an Atkinson breakaway. Atkinson had a lot of really prime chances today. That one did go in, but he had numerous others that didn't. Bjorkstrand then was denied, and with 3 minutes and 20 seconds left, the Senators get a power play. The power play would come through in overtime. 4-on-3s in overtime were lethal. At 1:56, it's Duclair. He gets the hat-trick goal from Chabot and Pajot. That makes it 4-3 in overtime for the Ottawa Senators. Good result for them. Merzlikins saved 6 out of 8. Then he's out. Korpisalo saved 17 out of 19. Nilsson saves 38 out of 41 in the win. 3 stars are Duclair, Nilsson, and Connor Brown. Shots 10-8 in favor of Columbus in the first, 12-8 in favor of the Senators in the second. Columbus wakes up in the third, outshot them 20-5, and in overtime outshot them 3-2. Final shots 41-27 in favor of the Columbus Blue Jackets. So Columbus, relatively decent game, but they give up that second point to Ottawa, and they need that. So for Columbus, things continue to spiral in the wrong direction as they watch teams that they're chasing putting up more points than they're getting, and we'll see if that continues. All right, moving along. Islanders at home against Buffalo. This one ends up going to extra time as well. 3 of 4 games today have gone to overtime so far. We'll see whether or not we get more overtime in the late games, but so far it looks like 3-point games are going to be the order of the day. There was heavy Islanders pressure early on that led to Del Cole getting a goal from Beauvillier. The Sabres did make a push around the halfway mark, and this is again looking like a low-scoring Islanders game. This is the way the Islanders play. It's a low-scoring game. Scandella then threw a hit the fans didn't like. Josh Bailey didn't like it much either. That leads to some penalties, which leads to the Sabres getting a power play. So, Del Cole's out of the game, and the Sabres get a power play out of all of it. But it's 1-0 Islanders after 1. Second period, Ullmark stopped Lee in close. Sabres then got a power play, and during that power play, Olofsson, who is back, gets a goal from Dahlin and Eichel at 6 minutes and 11 seconds. If you've been following Jack Eichel, that does mean his point streak is now at a 16-game clip. So he continues his hot streak. The Islanders got a power play, and then Cizikas drew one after the Sabres killed that off. So they got back-to-back power plays. Third period, early on, Eberle scores from Nelson and Beauvillier at 4 minutes and 50 seconds to make it 2-1. And I put on the board, this is a perfect Islanders game. This is the way they play. Low chances, might be more shots for the other team than they get, but they somehow end up winning it in the end. This felt that way. Del Cole did not return after that hit. There was a late power play for the Sabres. You know, I always find this weird, and I had to put this on the board. When hockey fans chant defense, that just feels weird. That's a basketball chant. It's not a hockey chant. It's just really, and I'm not saying it's wrong. It just sounds weird to me because that's a basketball chant. Anyways, while they were chanting defense, it ends up being a 6-on-4. They pulled the goalie with the power play. Eichel would score from Ristolainen at 18-14. Chance didn't work. It's a power play goal for Buffalo. And Buffalo was lethal with their power play today. So the Sabres, after scoring that goal, they actually went for the lead. So we go into overtime. There was an almost goal for the Sabres that landed on the net. But in overtime, Beauvillier gets the game winner for the New York Islanders. And it's 3-2 New York. They win it. Your 3 stars are Beauvillier, Eberle, and Eichel. Buffalo's Ullmark, 23 saves on 26 shots in the loss. Varlamov, 33 saves on 35 shots in the win. Buffalo, 2 for 2 on the power play. Islanders 0 for 3. The shots were 10-9 Buffalo in the first, 10-7 Buffalo in the second, 13-8 Buffalo in the third. Overtime, the shots were 2-2, and overall the shots were 35-26 in favor of the Buffalo Sabres. So, pretty decent game overall. The Buffalo Sabres, not a whole lot of shame in losing against the New York Islanders. And for the Islanders, they continue their hot streak. And they're pretty good when it comes to extra time. All right, moving along. Calgary. This is a tough one. Now, Hurricanes fans, let's remember what happened in Vancouver. Let's keep that in mind. Let's get to it. Early on, the shots were 9-1 for the Flames, so it looked like it was going to be all Calgary today. The Canes then get a power play. However, on that power play, Backlund had a really good chance shorthanded. Canes got stuck on 2 shots in this game and couldn't get past 2 shots for a lot of that first period. And Reimer then denied Derek Ryan late in that period. So we're scoreless after 1, but it really felt like this was a Calgary game. Second period, Toby Reeder had a quick break, missed high. The Canes, and it felt like they had used up their goals against the Oilers, because remember, they didn't get any that counted against Vancouver, and they didn't have any yet to this point in this one. So they were at that point 93-plus minutes since their last goal. The shots had evened up at that stage. It was still scoreless, but you could see the Canes were starting to build up some momentum. There was an offside challenge on a Canes goal. They look at it and they go, nope, goal's good. McGinn from Martinook and Gauthier at 12:35. Goal counts, and because the Flames challenged on it, it's a power play. That power play leads to a cascade of special teams options and choices, and it ends up with another power play for the Canes. McGinn, he was followed up by Hamilton scoring at 13 minutes and 40 seconds on a 4-on-3. So, that power play was a result of a goal that shouldn't have counted. The referees would go over later and explain that they felt that a Flames player had brought it back into their own zone, thus nullifying the power play. And that's what the Situation Room in Toronto told them. That's not what happened. It was a Carolina player that pulled it out and back in. So it was an offside play. The goal counts. The power play happens. As a result of that, it's 2-0 for Carolina. This was a missed call that resulted in 2 goals for Carolina. So again, if you take issue with one, you have to take issue with the other. If you don't, and if you say, well, that's fair, that's fine, it evens up, then we don't even need to have this debate at that point. And this is something I've said before, that when these kinds of calls go against teams, I've watched throughout the season, they always end up evening out for the most part. The biggest problem I have is this. What happens when it's a playoff game? It's going to happen in this year's playoffs. There's going to be a goal that Toronto looks at and goes, oh yeah, that's a hand pass, when it's not. Oh no, they shouldn't have blown a whistle there when they should have. That didn't hit the netting when it did. Something at some point during this year's playoffs, there's going to be a review, and Toronto's going to say when it shouldn't or when it shouldn't. It's going to be an interesting playoffs this year. I can already see it coming. Because remember last year during the playoffs, everybody said, just get the call right. Just do the replay and they'll get the call right. And I said, are you sure? And here we are. So they thought that the Flames had brought it back in, and it was a big momentum shift. The game completely shifted into Carolina's favor. Third period, there was a 3-on-1 by the Canes. Svechnikov missed wide. Niederreiter was then denied by Riddick. There was another good chance then for Toby Reeder. The Flames got a power play with 8 minutes and 23 seconds left. They couldn't get anything going on their power play. The Canes took another penalty 14 minutes in, and guess what happens? They get a shorthanded goal. Foegele from Martinook and Pesce at 15:05. The Flames pull the goalie with 3 minutes, and they're both 3.5 minutes left, and then they take a penalty. So that'll kill it. The Flames did get a last-minute power play, and even though they were down by 3, they pulled the goalie. That gives Foegele a chance to hit the empty net at 19:57. Teravainen gets the helper. Final score 4-0 for Calgary. So Reimer with another shutout. Reimer, Martinook, and Lindholm are your 3 stars. Reimer saves all 32 shots. Riddick saves 27 out of 30. Shots are 12-4 for Calgary, 18-7 for Carolina in the second, 13-9 Calgary in the third. Final shots 32-31 for the Flames. Power plays, Carolina goes 1 for 4. Calgary goes 0 for 5. So there you go. No controversy at all, right? Again, I'm just saying this is going to happen during the playoffs. Absolutely going to happen during the playoffs. They're now that they're reviewing on basically anything, and I know offside was something they were reviewing for last year, but we're going to see it in the playoffs this year. Where something that we looked at last year and said, well, once they review everything, that'll get fixed. It won't, because humans make mistakes. All right, here we go. Last game of the day before we get to the game that's on the TV and me watching that. Oh, Dallas has a power play. That's not going anywhere. The Rangers in Anaheim. The Rangers come in on a hot streak, and sure enough, 10 seconds in, Zibanejad scores on a steal. And it looked like maybe Dallas had scored, but they didn't, so I'm kind of looking around the board. But yeah, Zibanejad scores 10 seconds in. Brutal. And then at 3:59, Panarin scores from Strome, so that's even more brutal. 2-0. The Ducks then get a power play. During said power play, Silverberg scores from Lindholm and Raquel at 8:53. So power play goal for the Ducks. The Rangers then get a power play. Lundqvist was really sharp. He's tested late, but he was really sharp. The Ducks had a strong second half of the period, and while they were down 2-1, you could argue that the momentum was kind of in their favor at the end of that period. Second period, Lundqvist gets caught sliding out of position. Goodbranson puts it in an empty net from Henrique and Raquel. He's talking to Ali Lozoff about it in between the second and the third, and she asks him about the shot, and he goes, yeah, it's an empty net. Like, yeah, even I can hit an empty net. And what I love is just his overall humility about the whole thing. Like, yeah, it's an empty net. I'm not going to take any credit for the fact I didn't miss an empty net. The Ducks got a power play around the halfway mark. They got another one again after that. And yet Lundqvist really held under the pressure from the Ducks. in that second period. The second period was really, really controlled by Anaheim, and the Rangers were lucky to come out of this with a tie. Third period, early goal again. Zibanejad from D'Angelo at 1:14. That D'Angelo kid's pretty good. So yeah, D'Angelo the pass to Zibanejad. Zibanejad makes no mistake with it. And that's, I believe, his 11th of the season. So he scores to make it 3-2, and then the Rangers pushed for another. And then Lemieux doing his normal shift disturbance out there where he's barely touched and he just falls down like he got shot and tries to draw a penalty. It happens. Can't really blame a guy for it. It's frustrating, but it happens. The Ducks were getting chances at that point, so the Ducks started evening things up. Gibson denied Buchnevich and close. The Rangers get a power play. The Ducks get a power play late. And I'm looking at this and going, all right, but the Rangers should be able to kill this off because the Ducks' power play isn't very good. But Lindholm would score on said power play from Raquel. That's Lindholm's first of the season. Way to go, Hampus. At 18-14. In overtime, there was a long shift for Zibanejad, about 1 minute and 45 seconds. And it was a long shift for Zibanejad. But we end up going to a shootout. In the shootout, it is Jacob Silfverberg with the winner. Anaheim wins this one in said shootout, 4-3. Lundqvist saved 39 out of 42. Gibson saved 29 out of 32. Both goaltenders were really solid. Your 3 stars are Lindholm, Zibanejad, and Silfverberg. Power plays, the Rangers go 0-2. Anaheim, surprisingly, 2-4. Shots, 11-10 for the Rangers in the first. 18-3 in the second for Anaheim. Yeah. And then 16-13 in the third for the Rangers. 2-1 in the shootout, or 2-1 in overtime for the Rangers. It wasn't 2-1 in the shootout. 2-1 in the overtime for the Rangers. And then the final shots are 42-32 in favor of the Anaheim Ducks, who did win this one in the shootout. And for the Rangers, they got to be pretty happy with how this road trip went. Yeah, it would have been nice to get a win tonight, but they're okay. Let me know what you guys thought of the early games in the comment section below. Don't forget, we got 10 more games coming up tonight. And I got to somewhere in there squeeze in the fact that I got to hit the treadmill for today. I do that every day. And yeah, so there you go. Let me know your thoughts as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.